When everyone has come to conclusion on matters affecting society, it remains on us to find the truth behind the truth. This is The Third Eye.
With a population of more than 43 million, Kenya is one of the most populous sovereign nations in East Africa, boasting of the most impressive scenery in the world, including the vast savanna, the mountainous regions, and stunning national park. Kenya is a popular destination for tourists. But despite its breathtaking natural beauty, Kenya faces a number of serious problems, including the widespread poverty, income inequality, and more immediate challenge of providing healthcare to its countrymen. Making matters worse, healthcare workers in Kenya are always on strike each year, protesting over delayed payment. When key service providers down their tools, it's very distressing and becoming a matter of life and death. Like any developing country, Kenya has more problems than answers. For the financially able, seeking medical facility with high technology and top doctors, medical tourism has become a quick fix for what ails Kenya's healthcare system. Each financial year, Kenya spends billions of shillings to train the healthcare experts, but still, the country is far from achieving the MDG on health. In 2013-2014 national budget, the ministry needed 160 billion to finance the sector, but it only got 34 billion, creating a deficit of over 100 billion shillings. But even the 34 billion normally lost due to corruption in the sector. It is estimated that 40% of the allocated budget is lost every year through misappropriation of funds. The scenario has forced many Kenyans to seek medical assistance in either India or Pakistan, where the sector is far much better than in Kenya. Meet Richard Kiundu, an accountant by profession and the owner of Roma Medical Agency, an agency that helps Kenyans seek medical treatment in overseas.
I'm a businessman. Particularly, I'm involved in medical tourism. That is arranging for people to go abroad for treatment, which is or may not be available here or is too expensive.
Kiundu himself was a victim of the health sector and was forced to seek medical attention in India.
About 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer of the stomach. I was admitted at Nairobi Hospital. I did some surgery I was in Nairobi Hospital for about 10 days, and the bill was horrendous. And of course, after the surgery, I was taken to an oncologist who proposed that I go to India, referred me to a hospital in India, basically just for diagnosis, so that we could determine what kind of treatment is required. And after I went, I did the diagnosis, and she was told how to treat me. She suggested, because there was a radiation involved, and there is also cutting-edge machines in India, that I go back for the radiation to India. So I went back, and I spent about 3 months in India for radiation and chemotherapy. But the rest of the chemotherapy I did in the country, although it is normally very expensive. What she had advised me is I come with my own medication. So I actually came with my medication, and I would be admitted for 4 days at MP Shah. She administers the medication for about 3 months. Okay, if somebody comes and says they want to go to India, what I would normally do is to ask for the diagnosis, the last doctor's diagnosis that they have. I send it to the hospitals. I correspond with 3 hospitals in India. I send it to the hospitals, and they would look at it and decide what kind of treatment, and possibly also give an estimate of the cost. Then I will talk to the patient and explain to them the various options. Then they will opt for whatever hospital they want to go to. Then I'll get the hospital to send an invitation letter, which they use to get the visa at the Indian High Commission. It makes it very easy. And then once they are ready to go, I'll communicate with the hospital so that when they get to I give them the flight details. So when they arrive in India, they are picked from the airport, they are taken to the hospital. After treatment, they'll be dropped back again at the airport on the way when they are coming back.
According to the World Health Organization, the government of Kenya covers about 38.7% of the overall expenditure on health, while private expenditure accounts for 61.3% of the overall spending. Most private hospitals in the country have taken advantage of the poor public health facility to prosper their business. George Asiaya, a business person based in Nairobi, was a victim of the private health sector in the country.
And I never had a description of the Kenyan health sector until I had an experience with them, and I could say at the moment it's pathetic. When you have a problem and you go to the hospitals, the doctor is like he's giving you a favor, he's doing you a favor because he will decide on what to do and that's all he has to do. But then the end result is you will not get the money to do that. And even if you have the money, the facilities at the hospitals are not enough for what you want to do. I had a victim a few months ago, and we couldn't get the treatment here in the hospital because the doctor who was handling us was giving us only 2 options as the hospital we can use, preferring only one at that time. But then while we were still struggling that because of the money involved was going to be very big, a friend comes in and he suggests that we try the Indian option. And after trying that, we realized it was the best thing that we ever did.
Medical tourism is becoming the order of the day for many who reap big from the business. Though Kenya is positioning itself as a medical hub, taking services to other East African countries and offering credit to patients who finance the health bills out of their own pockets. With growth in technology and many specialized medical practitioners in the region, many patients in East Africa are now opting to come into the country, as it is nearer home for the same medical treatment they seek abroad. These patients come from Burundi, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and some as far as Zambia, Malawi, DR Congo to seek medical services. Much cannot be desired from the public health sector, who serve the majority of the common mwananchi. So what seems to be ailing our health sector?
One of the biggest problems is the cost of medication if you find it. Because in the public sector, really, there isn't much which goes on there. There is no equipment. You find a lot of the time the doctors are poorly paid, so they are not motivated, the nurses. You find basically the facilities are run down. So it is only the very rich who are able to go into the big hospitals like the Nairobi hospitals of this world, the Aga Khans. But still you find that the cost of that medication, if you compare with what is available outside, particularly in India, Pakistan, China, you find that the cost is about a small fraction of what you pay here. And also you find that the method of treatment here is a bit old-fashioned kind of, because in other countries, the countries I talked about, they do not actually do what you can talk about like intrusive surgery. They do very, very neat, smart surgery and at very minimal costs. But so the main thing here is really lack of equipment, cutting-edge equipment, and the expense.
I would say unless we improve what we are doing at the moment, I'll ask anybody to try the Indian option or any other place before you try the Kenyan thing.
What makes India a better medical destination than Kenya?
Well, one of the things is the whole world is there. The hospital I went to is called Medanta, and it has an international office which caters for people from the rest of the world. And, I met Germans, I met Americans, I met, people from the rest of Africa, West Africans, everybody comes there. And this hospital has got very seriously dedicated, that particular one has got 14 hospitals in one. So that each floor is a completely different hospital which deals with completely different issues. You find that there is cancer, there is if it is something to do with the bones, if it is general surgery, nuclear medicine, you name it. All of them are there. So there are 14 hospitals in one, and they are experts. And one of the things I also realized is when you are getting treatment, it is a committee which sits to decide how to manage you. Like here, it's just one doctor. You've got your one doctor who decides, to either they're going to operate or whatever. But in India, I realized that whenever they did some tests, they would actually sit together and discuss and later call you to their meeting. It's a committee, and they would explain to you what they are going to do, why they are going to do it, and what they expect to be the outcome. So it gives you it gives you good comfort that, you are really in the hands of people who really care. They give you that comfort, that they are really concerned about your well-being. The other one is the cost. I think the money I paid at Nairobi Hospital for 10 days was about it was slightly more than what I spent in India for 3 months, just getting treatment. And I was there with my son, and that includes the airfare. It was still cheaper.
Landing in India the first time, the first thing I got is that I found a man from the hospital waiting for me at the airport. And from that, I never said anything. I only gave him my invitation letter to the hospital, and he handled everything until I will find my patient in bed. They handled everything for me. I was not even talking. They only asked me to pay the deposit, which is a fraction of what was being asked here. And from there, I was shown our room. Everything else started moving from there. They were so organized that you can't realize we are in a hospital. 3 months after that, they kept calling, and they even sent us for a test here in Nairobi, where we sent the results to them, and now they have told us now the outcome is we do another test after 1 year, just to keep on following up to see if everything has worked out the way it was supposed to have done. What they do mostly is that once they do the critical thing at the hospital, they'll release you from the hospital to reduce the charges, and they advise you to get hostel nearby the hospital, which are so many around the hospital, working with the hospital, which are very, very cheap compared to any hotel in Kenya, the hostels here, so that you can be walking to the hospital. And that makes you reduce even more the cost. You reduce the cost even more because you are no longer staying in hospital. We were in hospital for about 3 days only. And the other days we were staying near the hospital, where we could cross the road and just walk to the hospital and see the doctor. And the other thing was that once you paid your consultation fee at the first day, any other visit to the hospital is free. The same doctors will still see you free. If I have to ask them anything right now, they're still not charging me any consultation. It's still free.
One of the things that you realize, of course, is like I said, when somebody comes back, we also want to talk to them and get to know their experience and try to see if they can share with other Kenyans that, look, while of course when somebody falls sick, normally they don't have too many choices. You just go to the nearest hospital, but there are other options available. The point is just to show people that you can possibly get a better deal elsewhere. It is cheaper, people treat you better, you find that the survival rate is much, much higher, and they make serious follow-ups just to make sure that the treatment that they have given you. Up to today, I still communicate with the doctors who are treating me, and that's almost 1.5 years down. They still want to know how I'm doing. Sometimes they would email me and say, go and do a specific test. I go and do the test. The other thing I noticed is the cost of medication. The medication I was given in India, when I buy here, because there's some I take every day, still, one dose for a month would be about 17,000 shillings in Kenya. When I sent for India, I got a friend who sends them to me, and it cost me 9,000 Kenya shillings equivalent to get a dose for 3 months. So you can see the difference. So I'm also trying to help people to access the medication if it is too expensive. Then I hope I can help them to get cheaper medication from India. So all along, just help people to bring down the cost of healthcare.
That's all we have for you this week, but join me next week as we engage a cancer patient and a cancer expert. Remember to watch the latest episode of The Third Eye on Mingi.tv.